Hello and welcome back to the Cozy Content Corner, or welcome if this is your very first time hanging at the Cozy Content Corner. Today we have one of my biz besties, Megan Gersch. She is a branding and web design unicorn that has been in the field for over 16 years. She has worked with some of the most well-known names in the industry like Netflix, Spaceland Presents, The Echoplex, Regent Theater, KCRW Radio, and Live Nation. She also hosts the Your Sparkly Brand podcast, which I love, a show designed to empower entrepreneurs with the tips, tools, and strategies needed to make their business stand out from their competitors. Megan Gersch, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, I am so friggin' happy to have you. I found Megan on TikTok. And we love some TikTok around here. Um, can you kind of back it up and tell us like a little bit of your story? Have you always been in the online space for your career? Did you start somewhere else and end up here? Let us in on all the things.
Yeah, definitely. I have always had a big interest in both music and art. And so that's really where I got my start in my career. And I actually got my first job straight out of college. I got super lucky. And my first job right out of college was at Live Nation. So I was working for people like Lady Gaga and Justin Bieber and Katy Perry and all of these like big name pop stars, which is really freaking cool. And I thought I had like landed like the job of my dreams. Um, Cut to a few years later, I decided I wanted to move out to California, wound up getting a gig in radio. And then shortly after that, I got a gig as a creative director for a few music venues here in Los Angeles. And all the while throughout my career, I had been freelancing on and off the entire time. And by the time I was kind of near the end of the time at my last job, I was basically going to my job from 9 to 5 and then also coming home and freelancing until I went to bed. And there was just like a point where I was like, this is not sustainable any longer. I decided to bet on myself and take the full-time leap into entrepreneurship and see if I could do this thing on my own full time. And so now I have my own web design and branding business. I'm so grateful for the opportunity, and it just feels amazing.
Yes, and you're so friggin' good at it, which we'll get into. But when you were working for like the more corporate companies like Netflix and Live Nation, or you worked with Netflix, but when you were working for Live Nation, were you doing like web and branding stuff, or were you doing different creative things for them?
Yeah, exactly. Websites, ticketing sites, graphic design, print design stuff, like anything design related, I was getting my hands on it.
So what made you want to take the leap from a quote unquote safe job working for someone else into the lovely world of entrepreneurship and working for yourself?
I also really love to travel. And so my husband and I really love to go to music festivals and see the world. And so I wanted more flexibility in that. And I had started to get like, I think as a lot of us in the entrepreneur space, like you start to get like, once you click on one entrepreneur guru or anybody like in the entrepreneur space, you start to get like those Facebook ads like over and over and
You're
over. And
just
like
inundated.
you are in there forever. Like good luck getting out of there. But so I started to get these things and I started to kind of follow what these people were doing. And I was like, this could really be like, I think I could really do this thing. Like if I were to go out on my own, and just the idea of having more time freedom and building my own schedule and kind of doing things the way that I wanted to do them and working with the clients that I wanted to work with. We've all had a job where you've had to work with a client that is less than ideal. So like the idea of getting to choose who you work with was so special to me and so appealing. Yeah, that's how I decided I wanted to kind of branch off on my own.
Yes. So when you took that leap and started just going all in on your own business, how did you market? How did you get your services out there to the people?
Well, when I was first starting, I was doing everything under the sun. And it was really scary at first because, like, starting from nothing, coming from these companies that had huge social accounts, like, they just made it look like so easy, like huge email accounts. And, like, like it's one of those things where when you're starting from zero, it's really intimidating. So I was doing social media, I was doing starting an email list. I was like, cold DMing people, which I don't really do much anymore. Putting my business card on little coffee shop bulletin boards, like talking to people, trying to go out to events, and like really doing everything that I could to really get my name out there and to kind of spread the word that I had started this new business. And so it definitely took a while for me to, number one, get traction, and number two, figure out the mediums that felt really good to me. So I tried lots of different things, I guess, is the very short answer to that.
Yes, and I think so many of us can resonate with that. Like, I did the same thing when I started. I was like on Facebook pages and Facebook groups, and I tried running ads. I had no fucking idea what I was doing, but I tried it. Um, so what medium has been the most impactful for you and your brand?
Without a doubt, video marketing. And that is something that it took me a long time to come around to. I actually had a mentor in the very beginning of my business who started doing these like Facebook live videos, and he would do one video every single day, and he would just be walking through the forest, like talking about some random topic and just giving value. And so I got really inspired by this, and I was like, I want to start trying to do this video thing because like it's really working for him, and I know that it's going to take me time to kind of get used to it, but like, I just want to jump in and try it. And so if you go back and look at like my old Facebook live videos, like you will see me struggling over there. But the more that I practiced and the more that I practiced, I eventually found TikTok, and it just seemed like I consumed content on that platform for so long before I ever started creating. But once I eventually saw like, I think that there's some potential here, because at the time there were not very many business owners on there. Like there weren't a lot of marketing people at all, which is way different now. But at the time there was only a handful of them. And so I was like, I think there's really an opportunity here. And so I just jumped in and started doing it. And I'll never forget my first viral video. It was like on the way to my in-laws place, and like my phone just started exploding, and I was like, I looked at my husband and I was like, I think I'm going viral. I don't know what's happening. So
So,
yeah.
so yes, you definitely, I feel like you got on TikTok before a lot of marketers and online business owners kind of jumped on the wave. So talk to us about when you started consuming on the app versus when you started posting on the app.
Yeah, there had to have been at least a few month gap in there where I was literally just consuming on the app, like seeing like, what's the deal here? It was one of those things where, I had heard about TikTok in the marketing space, but I was like, let me just download it to see what's going on here. There's a lot of chatter here, and I had heard other people talking about it in the space. And so I was like, I just want to see what's going on. Like, I like to keep my kind of finger on the pulse when it comes to these things. And so I dug into it and I wound up loving it. And that's where like I was just kept seeing all of these videos in my For You feed of like thousands and thousands of likes and thousands of comments. And I'm like, how are these people like just popping off like this? Like people I've never heard of. And so that's when I had like the light bulb moment of like, these are just like everyday people that are getting this shot at like mass like visibility on this platform that we have never ever seen like in marketing in at least 15 years without like paid advertising, right? But so I found that really interesting about the platform just from a consuming point of view. And so once I had that kind of light bulb moment, I was like, I'm just going to try this. I don't know how to make videos on this platform, but I'm just going to try this. And again, if you go back and look at early videos, like I didn't know what I was doing, but that's how you get better.
Yes. And I always like kick myself because I didn't get on until like mid 2021 when, it started becoming more populated with business owners. But even though it's a little bit more congested with marketers and business owners, there's still such a huge opportunity on there to get traction without paying for ads. And I think
Yeah.
that that is like what a lot of people misunderstand is that like if you want this kind of reach on platforms like Facebook and Instagram, like you probably have to pay some dollar bills.
Yeah.
So yes, I agree. Like video is 100% like my most impactful medium as well. Um, so talk to us about like how you felt getting on video when you first started creating, what your process looked like compared to what it is like now, because there are probably a lot of people that are wanting to jump into the video space, but have no fucking idea where to start.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Well, my first experience with videos was literally going live on Facebook business page. So what I would do for that is I would get up my notes app on my computer, write like 3 bullet points that I wanted to talk about, and then like literally like hype myself up for like 10 minutes because I was so scared of going live. And so I would just sit there being like, all right, you're amazing. You're amazing. Like you got this. Like it's just alive. Like who cares? Like da 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 da. And I would just go through this like little process of just like, all right, ready, and then just push the button. And so I would do it that way until I, found TikTok. And so eventually it was like a lot more of that trend style content. There was a lot more of the dancing and the sounds and all of that. Now it's not so much about that. The platform has kind of shifted a bit, but when I first got on there, there was a lot of just like pointing, pointing at the screen, putting text bubbles and that. And so I just started having fun with it. I was like, listen, I have nothing to lose here. I don't know anyone on this platform. And so I just started creating. And again, if you go back and look at those early videos, they are not something that I would put in my portfolio, but they got in those reps that you need in order to just get started. Like none of your first 100 videos are going to be great,
So you heard it here, guys. Hype yourself up and then just press record. I love that. All right, let's shift gears a little bit and talk a little bit about web design and branding. I'm curious about a bunch of this. This is totally not my wheelhouse. So, can you tell us what kind of differentiates a good converting website to a pretty crappy one? What are some
Yeah.
things that you look for?
Yeah, definitely. So the number one, the message has to be clear. So if I go to your website and it takes me 15 clicks to get to a product, or it takes me a long time to find what I'm looking for, that's a bad website, or something needs to be changed there. The other thing that I would say is brand consistency. So like, for example, this is something I always explain to my clients. Like if somebody's coming from your social media, let's say that they click on the link in your bio. If they get to your website and they look like they're in a completely different place, that's a problem. So you need that brand consistency between your different platforms to reinforce that customer trust that they're in the right place. It should be a visual thing. Like you shouldn't have to say like, hello, this is Megan's social, and then hello, this is Megan's website. Like, no, it should just be a visual indicator where you're using the same colors, you're using the same fonts. It should have the same aesthetic. And so to create that visual consistency, I think is so, so important. I don't know. I kind of lost my train of thought there, but I think that is helpful.
Yes. So that's what kind of shows us what a good kind of converting website would look like. We want like that consistency so you don't feel like you've landed on a new island. You want the messaging to be really clear. You want to be able to get that to where you need to go with as little amount of clicks as possible. Now, what are some of the things you see on websites that like give you red flags or give you the ick?
Are you asking me personally, like my personal
let's
opinions?
Hear both. I really actually want to hear both.
Okay. So anybody that follows me on social knows that I have a personal vendetta against like pretty boring basic websites. So if your website looks like it came straight off of a template, if it's like, if it looks like every other website that I'm seeing on Creative Market, like that is just like, I'm just like, meh, like, why would I want to buy with you? You look like everybody else. Like I can go anywhere and get your thing. Right. So I really look for kind of a uniqueness and a distinguishing factor, especially when I'm buying from other, I really need that like edge. You know what I mean? Like there's just so many people out there that you really need to be doing something different. And so that needs to come across both in your branding and in your website design. The other thing that I was going to say is, I know this sounds basic, but like a good functioning website, which like you would be shocked at how many people neglect like checking their links to make sure that they work. I've seen sliders on websites broken, images not loading, like basics like that, where it's like that's stuff that like really damages your credibility, and it's so easily fixable. It just looks like, it just gives off the vibe that you don't care that much about this business,
Yeah, for sure. And I know this from watching some of your lives, but what is the other thing that you're like, we don't need a welcome banner? So
Correct.
what it describes to the people, what is that?
So I just actually finished up this month of website reviews, and this is one of the top mistakes that I would see businesses make is like right at the top of their website, they would have a big banner that says like, welcome to my website. Like take a look around, like, da, 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 da. And it's like, guys, like we do not need a welcome to our website. Like people have been using the internet for over 20 years at this point. You not need to be welcomed to a website. Like, do you get welcomed when you walk into Nordstrom? Like, no, you don't. You say like, here's 1,000 different things that you can buy. If you go to any professional website, you'll notice that they have the offers front and center. And that's because these companies have a lot of money to throw at testing to find out what works. And that is the thing that works. You need to put your offer at the very top of the page so that your customers don't miss it.
Okay, so that's kind of the best use of that real estate is to just like go right in with what your offers are and what action people can take.
Exactly.
Okay, I love it. So talk to us too, because y'all, I follow Megan on TikTok and IG and all the places, and I love this series that you do on live and everything of your website audits and reviews. So tell us some more things that you've seen that are kind of like common mistakes, things that like people can make easy tweaks to. Like what have you kind of learned from this series?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the biggest things that I see is misorganization of content. So you always need to think about like, when you're laying out the different pages of your website, thinking about like, what would people need to know first, second, third, etc. Like what makes logical sense when you go down that list? Because
Mhm.
a lot of the time I will see like, maybe people do have the offer at the top of the page, but then they bring the conversation straight back to themselves. So that says, they say like, here's an offer, but by the way, hi, I'm so and so, da 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 da. And it's like the customer really doesn't care about that. They care about how you can help them, but it matters less about your background and your education and all of that stuff that you're putting in that about section that is at the top of that page. So organizing that content is really going to be key.
Yeah. And going off of that, because I mean, you're a brilliant designer, but you're also a great content creator. So, can you talk to us about how you come up with your content ideas, how you come up with your different series, how you come up with your video ideas, what you're going to do on your lives, all of that stuff?
Yeah, definitely. So first off, I keep a running note in my phone / on my computer of just like a content idea bank, where every time I get a content idea, I put it into this list. And it's really, really helpful to have it in that notes app because that way I can have it on both my phone and on my computer, just readily accessible wherever I am. So that list is constantly growing. I don't think I'll ever be able to get through all of them. The other thing is looking at different comments that I receive. I always get a lot of inspiration from like questions that people have. Chat GPT is a great way to kind of come up with content ideas and stuff like that. Some of the ideas are, can be tweaked or can be a little bit too basic, but it can be a great starting point instead of just looking at a blank page. Lots of different places where you can get ideas.
Yes, and I've started using Chat GPT as well, and I just figured out that it's meant to be used conversationally. Um, I just thought, so if you don't know, if you're listening and you don't know what Chat GPT is, it's an AI tool, an artificial intelligence tool, and you can literally type something in like, give me 10 TikTok videos about website design and branding, and then it'll spit ideas out to you. And I thought that that's where it ended. Okay, these are my ideas. These are the end all be all Chat GPT ideas. But it's meant to have a conversation. So after it spits those ideas out, you can say, expand on number two, or make them sound more casual, or make them more tailored to realtors or musicians. And then it will literally spit out more. And then you can just keep going back and forth until you are happy and have what you want. Again, you're going to still have to infuse your personality, your story, your expertise into it. But it is such a good jumping off point for people that are like, I always have a mental block with content ideas. I have no idea where to start. It's such a good tool. So I'm so glad that you brought that up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, so you go live quite often, which I try and do as well. Talk to us about like the benefits of going live and how that's kind of grown your community and your brand and all that stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I would love to get more consistent with it. I'm moving into as we go into May, I think I'm going to be setting up another challenge for myself. I just did a challenge back in February where I did my goal was to do well, it started off as doing 100 website reviews for people, but then I quickly realized I needed to do more than that. I wound up doing 262 website reviews in the month of February, which is crazy. But anyway, having a regular schedule can really be helpful just because people know when to show up to your live. I noticed that when I was doing that challenge, I was going live every single day at noon Pacific time. And basically when I would start the live, like there would be 20 or 30 people there, like ready to go, like, let's jump into this. And so that was really, really helpful for me. As far as how it benefits like your content, like I definitely see like a boost in my regular videos on the platform.
I do
When
too.
when I go live. Yeah. It's not as much as it used to be in the early days of TikTok, like in 2020, like, wow, it would be like an explosion. But it still does give you like a nice little push. And I think it helps to keep that momentum up on your account. Like I see a direct correlation between like the times when I'm really getting serious about live and the times where I'm not. Like my account growth like really kind of flattens out. And not that that's everything, but like, you know, everything kind of feeds into each other, like the exposure and like the eyes that you're getting on your videos, like that directly impacts like how many leads that you're getting that month and stuff like that. So but yeah, I mean it's a great strategy to connect with people. And you know, I've learned so much from my audience by doing that too. Like I've sold products on live, like I've sold different services. Like it's great.
Yeah. So, what are some other things that you do on live when you are not doing these audits? Because I feel like some people have this preconceived notion that you have to like have a whole plan laid out and a whole like framework to the live. What do you do when you get on live and you're not doing these audits?
Oh man, you can do much of anything. Honestly, I've done so many different things on live. I've done like regular Q&As where I'm just like ask me anything about branding or about website design. I've done website reviews. I've done branding audits. I have done like played little games with my audience. I've done like a green screen behind me where I have gone through like a traditional PowerPoint kind of style. There's lots of different things that you can do. I actually want to shout out my client because she did something really interesting on live. Basically, she paid off her student loans purely with TikTok Live. $13,000 worth of loans. She completely paid it off because she gamified the process. So what she did was she created this roseometer. So it's basically was based on like people giving her roses in exchange for her. She's an Etch-a-Sketch artist. So I know that that sounds super niche.
Oh my
It's
gosh, I know exactly who this is. That's
yes. So
so cool.
that's my client. And she's incredible. And so yeah, so she created like this roseometer, and basically she went live every single day, multiple times a day within the month, with the goal of paying off her student loans with all of the roses that she collected TikTok Live. And so there it was like it became like this challenge where like people wanted to see her win, like people wanted her to hit the goal. And so she physically was like filling in these like little pieces of the thermometer like up the wall. And it just became this like really fun, engaging thing where like people just kept giving her roses and roses and roses. And she kept doing these little the Etch-a-Sketch drawings for them, like in exchange, like on live. And it was just like really, really cool to see. And then like that's like the power of it. Like I mean, $13,000 is like, you know, that's crazy.
Yes. And for those of you who are listening that do not know about TikTok Live and all of that stuff, when you get a rose or like you see people wearing like those funny hats, it's people are giving you money. Sometimes it's like the most minuscule amount, but that means that people are paying you. But myself and Megan included, we've also sold products and services on live, not meaning that people pay us through TikTok, but because we are showing up, hanging out, talking about our offers, and people feel like it's such a one-on-one capacity with us. They're like, "Oh my God, let me go look at that. I've just been hanging out with Megan on FaceTime for 45 minutes. Let me go look." And then it converts that viewer to a customer, which if you're a business owner, that's ultimately what we want. We want to grow our community, of course, but we also want to convert those viewers to customers. And I've seen that as well. Like I will go on there and I will literally like I ate soup on there the other day. I do my makeup on there. Like I do not have like a specific like framework. I just open it up for people to essentially come in and get like free feedback, hang out with me. And that really goes a long way with your audience for sure. For sure, for sure.
Yeah, I would agree
Um,
with that.
yeah. And I think it's so intimidating to people because again, like people are so kind of under the impression that they need like a script or some kind of fancy layout for exactly what they're going to talk about. But you really don't. You can really just like show up, hang out, and just like open the floor for discussion.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And I've gotten to know so many amazing people through live too. Like it's like one of those things where I've gotten on discovery calls with people and they say like, "Yeah, I was like in your TikTok live and like you gave me so much help." And it's just a really cool way to connect with people. It's like having like a FaceTime call with them, you know?
Yes, yes, I absolutely agree. That's exactly what I relate it to. So, can you give us like one last kind of tip or knowledge bomb about if we're wanting to kind of stand out as a brand with our web design or branding? Like, what are some action steps that we can take?
Yeah, it's funny. I actually did a video about this, like, I don't know, yesterday or the 2 days ago. So this is perfect timing.
Yes.
So number one would be to figure out why your offer is unique. So what is the main thing that is setting you apart from other people, right? Like maybe it's your price point, maybe it's your design style, maybe it's the way that you're executing that offer. The other thing that I would say is giving your audience a name. And so, like, making sure that you have, like I always give the example of like Lady Gaga gives her audience the name of the Little Monsters. But so you need it to be something that when somebody hears that, it creates that community. They have to say like, oh, hell yes, like that is me, like absolutely. So if there's a way that you can give your audience a name, that is helpful. And then the last thing that I would say is essentially making sure that you are positioning yourself in a way that conveys those things. So like making sure that your positioning in the market matches your branding. So like you wouldn't expect to go to a Tesla dealership and to find kind of like lower level offerings or like lower level branding anywhere, right? Like you have to make sure that the experience is locked. And so making sure that you really craft an experience that works for the type of product or service that you're offering.
Yes, for sure. And those are like thank you, Nate. My foster puppy is also agreeing with this. And those are some things too, which you know what? Let's touch on this for a hot sec. There's a difference between personal branding and like brand design. Can you kind of break those down for us? That's important. I think people need to like understand that differentiator.
Yeah, when we're talking about personal branding, we're talking about the person, the face, right? Like the person that's coming on TikTok that is like, "Hi, like I'm Megan, I'm a web designer, like blah 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 blah." If I ever were to sell my company down the road, like that would be kind of a bigger picture of a brand. Does that make sense? Like it's like I am a would be like an employee of the brand, or I would be like a component of the brand, where that would be like my personal brand, but like the overarching brand of the web design company would be like its own thing, if that makes sense.
Yes. Because I feel like a lot of people, and me included, I used to think that, like, okay, I hear branding and I'm like, fonts, logos, and colors. But there's
Yes.
so much more to a brand, especially when your personal brand, like myself and Megan and a lot of the people listening to this. So it's so important to really implement those things that Megan was talking about that makes you stand out because there are probably millions of other web designers, millions of other video marketers. So what is going to make somebody say hell yes to you? That's your personal brand. So that is so important. I'm glad we got to touch on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, you are amazing as usual. I so appreciate you coming on. So if people want some more Megan Gersh in their life, where can they find you?
Oh, thank you so much for having me on. This is so fun to chat. And I mean, I'm always excited to chat with you. If you want to chat with me more, my website is megangersch.com. It's megangersch.com. And I'm at Megan Gersh on TikTok, Instagram. You can find me on YouTube and pretty much anywhere on the internet.
Yes, amazing. Thank you so much again. And for everyone listening, I will see you on the next one.